The following Conscious Consumer Network recording of a live broadcast is available to purchase in high definition at ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a CCN pledger. For €10 a month, you can have unlimited access to CCN high definition downloads at ethymarket.com. Ethymarket, the ethical marketplace for conscious consumers.
Welcome to Awake and Empowered TV. I'm your host, Ethan Fox. Today I'm here with my co-host, Micheila Sheldan, and we're here to tell you about a very special video series that we are about to release. And this is our first video from the series from our recent Awake and Empowered Expo 2015 April. And this video is part of the entire series, which Micheila will tell you more about in a few minutes. But in this particular one, we had a panel discussion on Friday night, and we had some of our incredible presenters, not all of them, but quite a few of them on stage answering questions about their life experiences and inspirational messages and just some incredible stories that I think you'll find very helpful to your life journey. But on the panel, we had Kevan Ryon, who is a fifth dimensional healer, up-and-coming healer, very, very gifted. Dixon from Dixon's Violin, who was there playing, doing a musical concert Friday night. He had some inspirational messages to share as well. Micheila Sheldan, she was also there speaking on behalf of the Spirit Guides. Mandara Cromwell from Cyma Technologies, who was there speaking about cymatics, the science of sound. We had Rehmannia Dean Thomas, who is a Chinese herbalist, who was there doing some classes and lectures and workshops on Chinese herbalism and elixirs and so on. We had Mark Romero, who is a vibrational sound healer, who was there doing a sound healing concert and speaking about vibrational healing. We had Ken Chorley, who did a class on telekinesis, aerokinesis, and self-mastery and so on. Lisa Bousson, who was there doing a class on mediumship, and she was also on a panel as well. Sarah King, who did a workshop on raw foods. And we also had Barb Morey, who is a very gifted aura reader, who was there doing a class on aura reading. And she also helps me in my energy transfer class as well. So I think that's it. And so I'm going to let Micheila tell you more.
The Awake and Empowered Expo is actually the collaborative effort of the Flower of Life Center for Human Evolution, which is an organization focused on raising human consciousness in a variety of different areas. And this manifests for us in a variety of different ways, you know, from working with youth and gearing towards a alternative school to being involved in conscious activism projects and a variety of local community efforts that we have ongoing in the state of Michigan here. So the video series that we're talking about will be released. It's 45 different presentations of 2 hours in length. As Ethan mentioned, it's more than just the presenters on the panel you'll see in this video. It includes a variety of others, including Dr. Edward Group of Global Healing Center, Ty Bollinger, who is the documentary producer on The Truth About Cancer. So there's some wealth of information, a variety of areas regarding alternative health, spirituality, higher consciousness, channeling, mediumship, a variety of topics. Flower of Life is also very engaged and developing a variety of different tools that can be brought into a fifth dimensional consciousness here on the planet, such as free energy technology. So we're going to be talking about a lot of these programs in detail throughout the video today, and we hope you'll enjoy it, and we will see you in a bit.
So I'd like to start with a question, really focus more on what you see happening in the world. Do you, from your experience in your work and your awareness of what's taking place in the world, because a lot of us in the world, maybe not so much this audience, but in the mainstream world, it seems like the world is really heading in the wrong direction. And there are so many chaotic things happening in the news, and if you watch the news, it would seem like we're heading in the wrong direction and there's no way we're going to survive this, right? But I'd really like to hear your opinion on what you're observing and your experience of the world, and what you think is, have we turned the corner to heading toward a better, brighter, prosperous, enlightened future? Or is there still a lot of ground to cover and we may still end up going backwards? So, Micheila, would you like to take that first, or pass it down to somebody else?
Well, I mean, I guess I can answer that question based on the perspective of my guides and what I'm hearing from my clients. And I know we've had a recent planetary shift with this last planetary alignment over the course of the last couple months. And my guides have been talking about that a lot, that there's been a raise of vibration through that shift. And because of that, we've all had to adjust inner, and now the outer is reflecting that inner raise of vibration. So a lot of my clients are seeing things fall away, things starting to change, relationships, new career paths, things that feel really uncomfortable. And in addition to that, I know we're seeing a lot of things in the world that are not pleasing to the eye. And I've had a very consistent message from my guides. And it's very interesting because, we have to think of everything in terms of energy. And when we see all these outer things going on in the world, what my guides have said is, light workers are going to go through a very difficult period in the next couple years, because they're not going to see with their eyes in the outer world the things they wish to be reflected or changed. But it's actually a good sign, because when people awaken to all of the things in the world that we don't like to see, there's a level of anger that's expressed with that realization. And that anger is an energy. And that energy goes out into the world and has to have a vibrational match. So we're going to see some of these things increase in terms of, some of the things we don't want to see happen, but it's actually a good sign, because it means more people are awakening, more people are kind of releasing that anger, and that's going to be a period we're going to be seeing over the next couple years. But I think there's a lot of amazing things going on in the world personally, and it's a free will choice. You can choose to focus your attention on the things that are going great in the world, or the things that are going on in the media. And even the alternative media these days seem to be focusing on a lot of the negatives when there's so many incredible things happening. In addition to that, if I'm taking too much time, just, I know that we're in a very transient state right now. My guides are saying, moving from a fourth dimensional to a fifth dimensional reality. And we're having to do a lot of integrating of our emotional, spiritual, and physical bodies in order for that integration to take place, because we're moving towards a one consciousness. And there's a lot of positives that come with that, because when that happens, that's when we see all the new technologies come in. That's where we ground in these energies. That's when everything starts to hold and stick. And the institutions and the financial system and all of that has to also vibrationally fall in line with that new dimension, that new dimensional reality that we're holding. So I think there's a lot of positives coming, no question.
Thank you. Anyone else want to take that question? Yeah, Dixon. Mm-hmm. Oh, before you start, Dixon, I'd like to introduce Dr. Sam Osmanagich. Take a seat up there, please. So those of you, thank you. All of you familiar with, does anybody not know who Sam is? Okay, so Sam is, he is one of the top archaeologists in the world. He's in charge of the excavation projects of the pyramids in Bosnia. Any of you not know there are pyramids in Bosnia? So there's this pyramid city in Bosnia, and he's the guy who, this is a visionary. He went there and saw a mound of dirt that everybody said, that's just a mound of dirt, and he actually found pyramids, right? And he's had to go through immense amount of opposition from the establishment to really come to where he is now, a respected member of the community, the archaeological community. So it's a real pleasure and honor to have him here with us. And I don't know, you've never been to Michigan, have you? Have you? Upper Peninsula, oh yeah, okay. Well, welcome to the Lower Peninsula. So he's done amazing work there, so you should attend his lecture. It's not just about the physical qualities of the pyramid, but he really explores the consciousness aspects of it and the energy. And what I love about his work, and this is because I come from more of a left brain background because I used to be in business, financial, and so on. And so I really love the fact that he's done real scientific research. So he's been able to bring together the field of consciousness and energy and healing into the field of standard archaeology by using equipment to be able to test the different frequencies and energies being emitted in and around the pyramids. So amazing work he's doing. So this is not your everyday kind of lecture, so definitely come back for that. But anyway, I'm sorry, Dixon, please take that question.
Yeah, no worries. I've been blessed to have stumbled into a movement that I'm not sure many people know of, which is the Transformational Festival movement. So music is universal, and what's happening is the younger generations, even though many want to just go and party, and there are many musical events where they go out and get drunk or just escape. What's happened is I've witnessed a rebound where there are a number of spiritual events happening, and alternative spirituality and events that embrace consciousness. And there's thousands and tens of thousands of kids that are going to these now. For example, I'm blessed to be playing at the Electric Forest Festival. It's 40,000 kids that are there. And yes, there will be parties and alcohol and drugs and such, but there also will be meditation. There will be yoga. There will be workshops on, Native American shamanism and things like that. And it makes me optimistic for the future. So I don't listen to the mainstream news or watch TV, and I've been very blessed to find myself surrounded by these things happening. So it's not just here. This is awesome and special and needed, and there's also more going on, and it's exciting to me that it's happening with young kids now too that are getting exposed to new ideas.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah. I'll grab that from you.
Nice,
go ahead.
man. Thanks. Well, if I can make this concise somehow, I have about 20,000 thoughts on this, but there's a biologist named Jane Banyas, and I heard that she was talking at Pioneers, and she told a very interesting story. She said that she was talking about the life cycles of organisms, and so she talked about the butterfly's life cycle, and that she brought up something in this discussion that was really interesting and unique regarding evolution. She said that when the organism is in its larvae stage, which is its consumptive stage, its primary directive is consume, and it doesn't really look back at the path of destruction that's left in its wake. And then, after it reaches a certain end of that stage and a certain consumptive, threshold, it then starts to regurgitate what it took in, and it takes this material and wraps itself up. So it's kind of like a collective memory of what it took in. It's starting in its first stage of coming back out. And then what happens is that the organism, then the larvae, once it is in what we call the pupa stage, all of its cellular structure breaks down into kind of a fluid. And then what happens is that after this is in this stage, the cells of the mature phase start to show up. They start to pop up. Then a very curious thing happens. The immune cells of the immature phase start to attack the cells of the mature phase as if it's something that it's afraid of. It's afraid of change, and it doesn't want change. And so there's a battle that goes on inside of this organism between that which is trying to hold it back in the old and that which is trying to fly out of it in the new. And of course, then I don't recall whether she said this, but it was my thinking on it, is that evolution has to have it stacked in favor of the new. If the old were to succeed in destroying the cells of the newly emerging butterfly, evolution would not go forward. So evolution is stacked in favor of the mature organism overcoming that which is trying to hold it back. And then when you look further, you say, why was the immune cells of the larvae trying to hold back the mature phase? You know why? It is there intentionally to make the mature phase more dedicated, more determined to succeed. And so what we face, we come karmically into this place that has a dualistic energy between what we call the yin and yang. I have a lot of faith after going through a lot of turmoil and wondering if we're going to make it. I have a lot of faith that the forward movement of evolution is inevitable. And that which is there trying to hold back in the old, the violence, whatever it might be, the war, whatever it is, the pollution, is only there to prod us to work harder, to make sure that evolution goes forward. But I believe we have the cards stacked in our favor.
Yes, I just wanted to point out in the field of cymatics, this is really a great visual. Cymatics is the science of making sound and vibration visible. And if you've ever seen Dr. Yenny's footage of his experiments, the sand vibrating on the plate with a particular geometric shape is disturbed when the amplitude is amped up. And when we have this chaos phase, it continues in chaos until it really gets to this new level of being, which the doctor just so beautifully described. But we can see this visibly in the science of cymatics, of how it goes through this chaos, and then this beautiful geometric pattern in its new form does emerge. And I believe, indeed, we're headed that way as well.
Thank you.
Optimism.
Ken, you pass it down to Ken? Thank you.
Amazing, amazing things from everyone. But to tie this all in, it's exactly right. We are moving through this phase of change. And like she said about schematics, I mean, that's how this place is created. It's all based on frequency and movement. And like she said, between the two phases, you're going to have that chaos and change. But it's a great thing. It's an amazing thing, because when I see all of the turmoil, everything going on, you have to realize that that is the balance of the system for the level of positivity. As the positive change, as the shift changes, the system has to balance. It runs algorithms, and those algorithms have to make balance. So you can't look at it like a discouraging thing, but you have to realize that it's all part of the plan. And everything is a mirrored reflection of yourself. There is only self. And so when you look at how that is changing and you see it all, the chaos, you have to look at the bigger picture. And it's a perfect example of the festivals, seeing all the truth, moving away from watching the program TV, moving away from seeing what society is going to lead you and guide you into feeling or wanting, and start moving into what you want to see, what you want to be the change to be. And once you do that, your frequency will change, your vibration will change, and it will shift you in a new reality, a parallel reality. And so you'll find yourself around people that are matching your vibration. So, I would see the future is bright. The evolution is going to happen. Yes, there's going to be little rough bumps in the road, but you got to take every experience with joy and realize that this is such a beautiful experience to come in and play this game. So,
thank you. Anyone else want to take that question? Sam?
To answer your question, for the last 8,000 years, we've been living in a materialistic world based on physical senses, elites, majority, manipulation. Everything we do is wrong. Energy, the way we get it through the coal, dirt industry, oil and gas, limited sources. Educational system, they keep us programmed the way they want. But the previous cycle, the places that I have been investigating, from Yonaguni on the bottom of Pacific, Göbekli Tepe, eastern Turkey, pyramids in Egypt, Bosnia, Mexico, China, Peru, Bolivia, Canary Islands, Mauritius, Indonesia, all these, they all belong to the previous cycle, 12,000 plus years. We can see that those societies, they did live in harmony with the planet, balance between spiritual and physical. They would move things differently, bigger weights, a lot to learn from them. I've been running for 10 years now the most active archaeological site in the world, the Bosnian Pyramid Project. Every year, 500-600 volunteers from 6 continents, 50 countries come to Bosnia, work with us, bringing a lot of interesting skills. And we've realized that archaeology does not belong to the archaeologists exclusively. It has to be interdisciplinary scientific project. We've learned that the ancients knew when they were building pyramids, not as a tombs, but the most complex energy machines, they knew how to manipulate with the frequencies. We applied scientific instruments. We measured electromagnetism, energy beam going through the top of the pyramid, ultrasound, infrasound, Schumann resonance. They knew the best frequencies for us and for society. They knew the best frequency for the communication, because the pyramids were the most powerful communication devices. They were able to communicate between the planets, teleportation, healing aspects. For example, they knew that the best frequency for the levitation is 28 kilohertz frequency of the ultrasound. And I'll be talking about that. So a lot to learn from the past. Is there a chance for us? You asked if we are heading in the wrong directions. Actually, we've been in the wrong directions for 8,000 years. Now it's still majority that living in a basically wrong world. We are minority. First, we change ourselves. The change comes from within. We change all around us. And then there is a chance. I'm hoping with the projects like ours, which is basically the most open project in archaeology, there is a chance. Thank you.
Anyone else want to take that question?
The reason I would like to answer this is I've been working recently with an indigo child, and I see, a newness in the fact that they're so open to learning and expanding, where, children years ago, it just wasn't heard of. And with working with this indigo child, I was able to reaffirm what she saw in auras. I was able to work with her so that she could see those colors. And it's very encouraging because we have a lot of indigo children in the world. And indigo children are a sign of change. And I feel like our world is changing for the better. So I just had to share that.
Thank you.
We hope you're enjoying the videos so far. We just want to take a short break to talk about the Flower of Life Center for Human Evolution, which was founded by Ethann Fox. And the organization is based around the idea that we can build highly conscious communities.
And one of the most common things that I've heard over the years from people who are awakening around the world is that they don't have a community that they can belong to. All of a sudden, they feel themselves out of place in the world. And so one of the visions behind the Flower of Life and all the various projects that we'll be talking about today is to create that community, a community of individuals who can come together and find other friends who can relate to them and share their stories and their experiences, and really to belong somewhere. So we do that in a number of different ways, and one of the ways is we have a lot of local classes in our local area. We offer, over the years, we've had classes and events relating to raw food and health. We've done channeling events with Micheila. We've had classes with like mediumship and and also I do a consciousness event. So we've had a lot of different lectures. We brought in speakers from out of town. So really we're trying to provide our local community with tools and inspiration and knowledge to really enhance their lives so they can also discover their own gifts and share them back with the world as well.
All of the local classes that we offer are offered donation basis. So it doesn't matter whether you have the ability to pay or not. We welcome everyone into all of the classes that we offer. So when you purchase the video series, the 45 video series, you are donating in addition towards this organization, building that community even further and expanding that on to more classes and more information and more people, which we're really excited to do. So enjoy the remainder of the series, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Well, thank you. I want to, so you're all here on this stage because we believe that you're exceptional in your unique areas and talented, and that's why we brought you here. But it had to be a leap of faith for you to take that step and into that journey and to follow what's true for you and unique for you. And what I'd like to know, and try to keep, obviously when we get into our life stories, we could be here all day, right? So try to be as quick and concise as possible. What I'd like to know is, what was it like to go from, I'm sure all of you didn't start out in what you're doing now, as in my case. And what was it like to make that transition to following and discovering your own your real true purpose in the world and your unique gifts, and to follow down that road in as simple and quickest way as you can tell that story? And it really, what I want to really illustrate for the audience, and we're also recording this, and so this is going to be webcast after the event, so a lot of people are going to see this. What I really want to illustrate, and there's a reason why I'm asking this question, because I get asked this question by so many people who come to our events who are really struggling, living the conventional life, and afraid to step out into the abyss of the unknown to follow what's true for their, in their hearts. And here all of you are doing that, right? You're all following something that's unique to you. And in most cases, things that you can't just teach to somebody else. It's something that's unique within yourself that cannot be taught. And back in the business world, it's referred to as a unique selling proposition, what makes you unique that you can't teach to anybody else. So what I want to know is, what kind of advice can you give to the audience so that they can take that risk and take that leap of faith and know that it's the right direction for them, and then even some of the struggles and what you've learned from those struggles as you followed that path. Anyone want to take that? Start?
I would say, for me, I was dealing with some emotional problems, and I went to a therapist. And in working with her, I found out that what I thought was everybody saw and was nothing to talk about was called an aura. So as soon as I realized that my gift was special, I started researching it and going to it, learning as much as I was like a sponge, learning to understand what I had been seeing all my life. And with that, learning that, it helped me help others. And for me, the more I knew, the more I could do to help other people. And for me, that was the most important thing in the world, is to help other people in using any tool that I had. So learning that what I called glowing was called an aura, and it seems special. But as our evolution goes, everybody will eventually see it as we grow as humans. So
Thank you. And really, as our evolution grows, everybody's going to be able to manifest a lot of these gifts that you're seeing from our presenters at this event. So this is, you're just witnessing the early emergence into something completely different that everyone is going to be able to do at some point. Anyone else want to take that question? Yeah, go ahead.
I've got the mic.
Oh.
I grew up seeing dead people. And while I do believe that being mammals, we all have that capability, whether they're seeing or feeling or hearing or tasting or smelling them, I was raised in a home where you got an education, you work your life, and then you retire, right? So, and I did that. I had my corporate life. And then it was about my mid-30s where I couldn't shut the door any longer. Where before I could like close the door and ignore it, you know. And then Spirit kept on knocking on the door and they wouldn't let up. So it was a huge leap of faith, probably about 22 years ago, that I said, okay, you know, it's only an income, right? Right. So I finally just said, I've got to try it. I have to try it. When you have this knowing and this insight, and it's so powerful that it's almost like a piece of you is standing here that I can no longer own or talk to or acknowledge. And you know that it's not right. It's just not right. So for me, taking that leap of faith in coming out of the closet to the public, to my parents, that was the worst. It was a huge leap of faith. And I've been rewarded immensely ever since. I should have done it first, before the corporate thing. But of course, you know, we do what we think we have to do, right? Instead of owning who we are. So I wish that for each one and every one of you, to own who you are and where you're supposed to be, what you were put here for. Thank you.
I just kind of want to say something because I feel like I'm really in that leap kind of right now. So I actually just graduated last year from Central Michigan University, and I'm doing nothing with what I graduated with. And even though I'm very, very thankful for my education, I just feel that there's no pull for me to do that. And it was Spanish, English as a second language, and communication disorders, which is great. And I love language, but I just don't feel drawn to that right now. And so I'm really, this last year has been a huge leap of faith. I've actually haven't really been working at a job the last 4 months, and it's been tough and a little scary at times, but I just know that I'm really pursuing something that drives me and makes me want to get up in the morning, and, you know, something that, a change that I really, really want to see. And so it's very exciting, but it is, you know, tough, but I would definitely, if you're in that, or if you're feeling kind of that pull, just follow it, because, you know, have that vision and look towards it, and the way will follow, or how to do it, how to get there will follow. But just have that vision and just be, you know, dead set on it and see that, and then the rest will kind of follow. I definitely believe that, and I see it kind of happening in my life right now. So
Thank you.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I mean, I'm kind of in the same starting situation. I mean, I was a successful business owner. I kind of had a total upheaval in my life and decided that I wanted to find out exactly what was going on. I had a lot of experiences throughout my life that kind of bent reality, and so you just have to take a leap. I mean, it kind of takes a big upheaval to make a change. You have to decide, okay, what in my life do I want to make a change and make a difference? And once you start doing that, you'll notice that the algorithms will start to change, that things will start to open up, and doors. There's always doors open, but we choose not to walk through them. So you have to remember that you have to allow it to happen. Everyone is so caught up on the job, the work, and, you know, allowing some sort of breakthrough to where you can release a job is good, but, you know, I've fallen in and out of work over the last year, and when I need money, or all of a sudden a job comes and I go to work. Like right now I'm working somewhere. A few months ago I wasn't. You know, back this summer I wasn't working anywhere, traveling around teaching workshops. So it's kind of like an ebb and flow in the beginning, and you can't always say that, you know, I'm going to give up my dream because, oh no, I got to pay the bills and I'm behind on this, or this workshop didn't work out, or this didn't sell, or my book wasn't going as well. Don't worry about all that. Just stay focused. Keep your intent of your energy focused in one direction. The thing is that if we move your focus off on something else, you divert some of your energy into that instead of what you really want to accomplish. So the more you can stay focused on what you really want and not be, wavered by everything around you or what's going on or the fact I got to pay the bills or where is it going to come from, but trusting in yourself. People say, oh, trust the universe, trust source. Well, it really all is self. Really, when you break it down and get it all there, it's all you, each and every one of us. So just trust in yourself that it's going to follow through, and it will, and to let it go. The paradox is we don't always let those things go that we want to manifest. And the key that I would say to you is that let it go. And once you release it, it comes. So follow your dreams, do what you love, be in your bliss, and it will all work out.
I'm a recovered corporaholic. I'm a former CEO, executive manager, 19 years in the grind. Reached my way all the way to the top 13 years ago now, hard to believe. And I came home, my lovely wife there, saying, you know what? I don't care, actually what she really says, I don't give a damn how much money you're making. I look in your eyes and you're dead. When are you going to have the courage to go for the dream? And for me, that was a huge challenge. She was right, because I'd done everything that society said you're supposed to do. I had the shiny car, the home in Southern California, the bells and whistles, the portfolio, and I was miserable. I was unhappy, discontent, unfulfilled, and unhealthy. And so I left to go discover myself and really, I think, learn something. Yeah, it was to discover my gifts and all that, but really was to believe in myself and who and what I was, my authenticity. And over the last 13 years, yes, I discovered my gifts, and this journey unfolded completely contrary to my biggest and best agenda and time frame and attachments. And if you can come to terms with that in your own journey, you'll be cool. I just saved you 10 years of agony right there alone. So, I mean, that one tip is, I wish somebody had told me that 10 years ago. But, I kind of prevailing to the earlier question, I think the catalyst for change and for all of us is to have the courage to be our authentic selves and to bring that forward. That's what we've come here to play the game of life for. That's what we've come here to do and to become. Yes, there is a process in that. There is a transition. Me, my personality type, I had to dive in, no strings attached. Maybe I wouldn't recommend that for everybody. And I saw a great analogy, and I wanted to really feel compelled to share this. And it's the analogy of Superman and Clark Kent. Okay, Superman's out saving the world, right? Bringing his gifts forward and all that good stuff. But when it came time to get his cape cleaned, he didn't have any money to do it. So he had to show up during the day as Clark Kent to pay for his Superman time to make sure that he could get his cape cleaned and those different things. So as you go forward in bringing out your authenticity, be true to it. Do what you got to do. And even if you got to wave in between things and stuff to take care of what you got to take care of, because I approached my mortgage company and said, hey, I'll be willing to play a song in exchange for a month's, mortgage payment. They wouldn't go for it. So I still got to work on some level in one way or another doing what I do to obviously take care of my Clark Kent things. So, but the most important thing is be true to you, create a vision for yourself, and then be ready for it to completely unfold in a completely different way, but in a most amazing way.
I am not sure what I can add to that. That was amazing. I mean, like many other panelists you've heard, the one thing I will add that I found, because I was in a complete and total state of fear about coming out into the world as a channel, I grew up in a very strict Catholic Italian family. I was a PTA soccer mom with 2 young kids, stay-at-home mom, and started channeling extraterrestrials, and was not something I wanted to talk about at the local bake sale, but Spirit had a way of nudging me to the point where I knew it was something I had to do. And I kept saying, why me? This was not what I signed up for. I was a corporate person as well. I left a very successful career in marketing and public relations to stay at home with my girls. But what I found, and I didn't do it all at once, little by little, I let the cat out of the bag with friends and family. And the people I was most afraid to tell
actually were waiting for someone to show up like me to be themselves, because the more people I told, the more people came to me that said, you know, I always heard this voice when I was going to sleep say my name, or I think I see spirit, but I'm not sure. And so I guess the more you become yourself, the world is really waiting for what you have, the gift that you have, to unlock it in others. And that's the biggest gift that I've had from this whole experience.
Well, I think I was blessed at an early age when my grandfather and my father were speaking about me and my 4 sisters. There are 5 of us. And when it got to me, my father said to my grandfather, her ball bounces a little differently. And so I guess I always had an excuse to to be outside the box. Nonetheless, I have experienced peaks and valleys in life. And so my message to you is, when you're down on the floor in the fetal position and think that you can't breathe, there is an angel standing beside you. Just open your eyes and pay attention.
Yeah. I was going to say pretty much that, same thing. But I just figured to get a little personal story a little bit too. When I was 6 years old, I was playing with a buddy of mine, and we were kicking around down in his basement, and I decided I was going to run on home. I was tired, and I thought that the sliding glass door was open, and it was somebody had closed it. And I ran into it and smashed through the door, and it sliced me into a million pieces. My hand was cut off, my right hand, pretty much. My left side here, big gash, all of her blood just came down into my face. The little kid who was playing with me freaked out. And I stood there. The mother came down and grabbed up. It was a little girl I actually was playing with, and she just screamed and went into convulsions. And then the mother came down and grabbed her up, scooped her up, and disappeared. And I just stood there bleeding to death for I don't know how long, pretty long time. And then eventually an ambulance came in. They got me on the thing there. What do you call it? Stretcher? Is that what you call that? And so in those days, I'll give away my age a little bit, but in those days, ambulances were just old station wagon cars with windows. And in Kentucky, at least, where I was from, as the kind of ambulance they had. And so I'm riding along and looking out the window, and it was winter, and I remember seeing all the trees going by. And I said aloud, everything turned gold, and I got this amazing feeling came over me of incredible peacefulness, and I said aloud, I remember saying, "Goodbye, world." Next thing I knew, I was waking up in a hospital, and the most prominent wrist surgeon in the world happened to be in Louisville, Kentucky when I did that. And they got him in a helicopter over there, and he sewed my hand back together, and then he told my parents, he said, "Hey, look, you know, this guy, your son will never really be able to use his hand." So that was what we call a born again or whatever. What do you call that? A near-death experience. There you go. Now they say when people have near-death experiences, they always come out to live much more colorfully. They want to really live their lives. They want to experience everything. Everything is more beautiful. Now every time I see a tree, I think of those trees going by that I'm alive here to see. And so I'm just blessed, and I think we have angels for sure. I mean, there were angels that helped me with this, you know. And the more we trust them and we purify ourselves, karma, reincarnation, a lot of things have to play with where we're at. But life can take on some of the biggest crises we face can be our greatest lessons, you know.
It's awesome. I like the idea that we all have a gift to share. And when I started to discover myself, I had, this corporate technology thing that was actually really good. I'm very blessed. Like I didn't have the job that sucked. I actually was healthy and enjoyed my job. And so what I did is I simplified my life so that there was basically nothing else. I stopped watching TV. I stopped listening to the news, which, by the way, those things had wonderful side effects. Just getting rid of that energy was by accident. I needed more time to work on music in the evenings. And I stopped all these time wasters, and I simplified. And so I basically ended up with 2 full-time jobs. I had the corporate tech job during the day, and then at night I worked on music. And for a while that worked really well for me. Like I don't tell everybody that you should all be a gypsy. Just quit your jobs, and it's possible to do both. And if you can be productive. Like if your work supports your gift, awesome. And for a while it did mine, until these transformational things started to happen. These life-changing things started to happen. Like tears were happening. People would say, there was a healing experience, etc. And I realized I really needed to do this, and I was scared to death. I'm like, I can't be a musician. I'll starve to death. And what I realized is that it was other people that gave me permission. That is, it was other people that had far less than I did. And they just, for example, friends that had not a dime in their pocket, and they would just pack their belongings in their car, and they just drove off to the other side of the country to start a new life. They had no nest egg. They had no insurance. They had nothing. And they went for it, and they were fine. It's like, wow. If they could do it, I could do it. And so I took the leap. So it really inspired me to see others with far less, and they succeeded, and it's been working for me.
So when I was younger, I always felt like I had to prove myself because I was, had this disability. And really, I would try to separate myself from my physical experience. And, it wasn't really until I got into healing that I realized that my physical disability is what really drove me here, and I would always think, I can't let it define me. I have to be normal. I have to be a normal person. I have to separate myself from my limitations. But really, it's about integration and really being true to who you are. Self-healing is about really just being. It's not really about doing. We think as human beings that we have to do something, and I thought that I had to do, prove to people that I was normal. But really, all I had to do was be compassionate and be me. And that's what drove me on my path.
We hope you're enjoying the panel so far. We want to take a short break to talk about Conscious Youth, which is one of the programs that the Flower of Life Center started here in Michigan and is ready to expand out to the world. And as many of you know, as the planet has shifted and changed, the consciousness of the youth that are coming onto the planet has been so expanded, yet some of the programs and the institutions that we have here are not really supporting the way that they need to learn and the way that they need to express themselves. So Flower of Life has a youth program for ages 9 to 18, and we've been bringing in a variety of speakers for these children on a variety of topics, very similar to some of the ones you'll see in the Awake And Empowered Expo. From raw food to channeling and mediumship. We've talked about tarot, and we've taken shamans' journeys. We've even done cranial sacral and those types of modalities. So the kids are really learning a lot about themselves, but even more importantly, that sense of community that Flower of Life brings in the local programs is mirrored in this program as well, where children are able to connect with others that are a lot like they are and have these discussions in a very comfortable setting.
And Conscious Youth is really part of a bigger program that we have that we're developing for a year-round school for kindergarten through 12th. And the whole program is fully developed now. We've got it all structured, but really we need funding and your support to help us to bring these programs to light and to bring them to fruition. So our next evolution really is to take this Conscious Youth program, which is a highly successful evening program, and turn it into a year-round program for kids. So by helping us, by purchasing this video series, you are going to help contribute to our ability to produce this education program, which we want to test out in this area with our kids locally. And then ultimately we'd like to take this out into a national and a global scale. So do help us to do that by purchasing the series if you can, or you can just donate to us on our website, and that will also help as well. Every little bit helps us. So we'll come back in a few minutes and tell you about some of our other Flower of Life programs. So we hope you're enjoying the video, and we'll be back in a moment. So this weekend we have a lot of different subjects we're covering, everything from consciousness to health to breakthroughs in archaeology and so on. One thing I want to get as many of your viewpoints on as possible is in conventional mainstream understanding, most diseases are not curable. So if you get cancer, you get chemotherapy or radiation, and then if you're fortunate and you're part of the small percentage who actually survive the actual radiation chemotherapy, then you might live a little longer, right? So a lot of people have this belief that you have to go this conventional route, and that there really is no way to heal an illness. And our mainstream, especially in America, medical institutions are really set up to treat illness, to prolong life, not necessarily to cure. Actually, it's illegal for me to even say that word. Cure an illness, right? And that's why everybody had to sign a disclaimer. So, but what I'd like to know from you guys is, in your work and your experience working with other people or in the work that you do, I'd like to hear a really profound story of healing that you experienced either yourself or with somebody you worked with or was come in contact with your work, where they actually were able to overcome a major physical or psychological or emotional issue. Anyone want to start?
Yeah. Doesn't have to do with me, but a friend of mine. This guy, I play music a little bit, and I play with this guy. He's an amazing person. I wish he was here. His name's Earl Flores. We play country music together. He's a great, big, beautiful man. He told me this story one time, though. He said that he got cancer, but he was trying to build this bed and breakfast for he and his wife. And he was desperate to build this place out himself. He built this whole place out for them. And he told me he was up on the roof of the house, and he was literally trying to lift his hand to drop the hammer onto the nail to get the nail to go in so he could get the house roofed before he died. And then he got the roof on the house, and he went down the ladder, and he fell down in the driveway, and he said, "God, take me." And all of a sudden, he had a spontaneous healing. And he went to his doctor, and the doctor said, "My God, it's gone." And so we never know what our destinies are. We go through these healing crises, and they are sometimes a wake-up call for us. It's a matter of whether we take the opportunity, to listen to the wake-up call and do something about it. Does our soul want to leave, or do we want to stick around, We as healers, we assist that. We assist people in guiding their own power, their own higher energies and angels to the right modality. That's our job, and I'm sure everyone in this room is doing that in some way or another with the people around us. That's our job, to be healers of those around us, but more inspirers, to see that miraculous things can happen if you believe.
Anyone else?
There are so many miracles. I think it begins with belief, though. We're in a time in the world where there are a lot of people who believe that in traditional Western medicine. And so when we hear about people who get a diagnosis, some people are really relieved to get a diagnosis because they want to have some label to describe what they're maybe feeling. But I'm open to all the possibilities of miracles. With sound therapy, there are numerous stories of people with the power of sound, whether it be the voice or music or Tibetan bowls. With simotherapy, we've seen many people who are at death's door be revived. One in particular I'll share about a woman who was 75 years old, diagnosed with Alzheimer's, totally non-cognitive, and within 6 months, using the power of sound, she's driving a car. So the possibilities are limitless, and I think we need to hold the space for all of those who maybe don't believe, and maybe that's their karmic choice to go through a particular type of condition. That's their wake-up call. We don't know what anyone's path is, but limitless opportunities for miracles. Thank you.
I have a personal story with self-healing, and like Mandara said, I was actually in that Western medicine world where I was searching for a diagnosis. I had a dysfunction in my SI joint and my hip on my left side. It's still there, but didn't know it was causing me a lot of chronic pain for about 5 years, and I had gotten pretty bad. I was on every pain medication you can imagine, anti-inflammatories, was even prescribed antidepressants, was having my nerves ablated every 6 months for the pain, and decided I had to do something different. And I started to simply meditate because I had read that meditation would disconnect me from the pain. And the meditation was really my spiritual awakening to my connection to channeling. And it wasn't the channeling necessarily that got me the healing information. And as a matter of fact, I didn't understand that I could ask my guides what I needed to heal. But that connection to Source had me so aligned with my path and who I was that all of the things that I needed to heal showed up for me. And when I look back at that time in my life, I'm so amazed at the beautiful path that opened up. I just so happened to be connected with someone who had this very specific information that I needed to heal, and that person referred me to the next person that just so happened to have the last opening for free when I couldn't afford to see them. And then that person sent me to a book that I needed to read, and I'm 100% pain-free today. Going from being afraid to drive my own kids to where I am now, I completely credit that with being connected in that way through meditation and connecting to my angels and guides. So.
I think I mentioned earlier I didn't quite just like sashay into being sound therapy energy guy. I fought it and I resisted. I was the biggest skeptic that I was dealing with out there, was the guy I saw in the mirror every day. So that was an interesting dynamic. But I remember as I started getting music out, I started hearing stories back from people. And I did this event. It was kind of like a mainstream business thing. And I talked about the energy and the music, what the scientists had discovered in my music. And the guy who ran the event was really skeptical, but he still bought a CD. Okay. And so I get an email from him. He goes, "Hey, I got to share this story with you." Well, what's up? He goes, my nephew, he's autistic, okay? He goes, he's like 13 years old. I've never been able to have a focused conversation with him. And this guy was a coach. He was an executive coach. And he had tried to have a conversation with his nephew. He goes, "So, we're in the car together for a 45-minute drive." He goes, "I'm going to play Mark's music and see what happens." He goes, "Mark," he goes, "for 45 minutes, we had focused conversation. I'd ask a question, he'd answer me. I'd ask a follow-up question, he'd answer that too." He goes, "This has never been able to happen." So I'm kind of going, wow, maybe there's something to all these scientist guys and discovering the energy in my music. I got to look into this. So I started getting a lot of stories like that, but I think the one that really kind of helped me, I was going to say nudge, but might have been more than a nudge, was my now 8-year-old daughter, who, when she came out very quickly and aspirated meconium, and when you aspirate meconium, it's instant into internal intensive care, 3 days. She was born 2 days before Christmas. We couldn't imagine not having our daughter home for Christmas. So I said, "Hey, listen, can I play the music in the room?" And they said, "Yeah, absolutely." Next day, doctor came in, "What's up with this kid? She looks great, man. Everything's awesome. Send her home." She came home the day before Christmas. He goes, and the guys, the nurses in the thing going, "That does not happen." Okay, it just never happens. They want to put them on antibiotics and keep them there for 72 hours minimum under observation. He said, that blows me away. Maybe there's something to this music. Could I get a CD? So there's been so many different stories, but that was one, obviously, dealing with the family and some of those first ones that really helped me push through some of my own skepticism are really key.
When we have a health issue, what is the most powerful force to resolve it? It's our body cells. The problem is that our body cells are so busy fighting the outside enemies, cosmic radiations, natural radioactivity, stress, all the stuff that are coming from outside. So what we do, we take pills. Pharmaceutical industry sells us pills. They don't cure the problem, as he said, but they bring us 5 side effects. And we buy more pills for those side effects. Imagine if there is a place on the planet which is totally safe and secure. No cosmic radiations, no stress. There is such a place. That's what we've been researching in Bosnia, the Bosnian pyramid tunnels under Bosnian pyramids. We measured no cosmic radiations, which is negative, no natural radioactivity, negative ions, which are very good because they clean our body from viruses, bacteria, they raise the level of oxygen, is 10 times higher at the healthiest place on the planet, the top of the mountains in the forests. We measured electromagnetism, ultrasound, very good. Schumann resonance, 7.83, that's the best energy field for human body. You get outside Bosnian pyramid tunnels, 15 hertz. Here, 15 hertz. The higher that low frequency, more pressure on us. So basically, the moment you get in the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, body has no enemies, body cells can do their job, they can start fixing the problems, they can start the regeneration process, they can start the self-healing process. You come to the tunnels with your blood pressure 220/140. 2 hours later, you come back, it's 130/80. You come with a, let's say, sugar in your blood, 9.4, which is risky group. After 2 hours, it's 5.7. I'm giving you examples that, we've been documented. You get inside with the asthma, you come back, you breathe normally, you don't need those air pumps no more. You go inside with the allergies, come back, again, the same thing. Your aura improvement is from 10 to 40% after only 1 visit. So, the self-healing process. The ancients were smart. They knew the planet better than we do. My lecture is Sunday, 1 p.m.
That was good. Tune in Sunday. Yeah, our bodies are amazing, amazing devices, that's for sure. I've had an interesting walk through my healing process. I had 3 discs that were bad in my back. I jumped off a roof when I was like 20, being silly and drunk, and really screwed myself up, ended up getting shingles and all these issues, and then struggled for years and years with horrible back pain and couldn't sit, and I could never sit up here for this long. I would be in tears. But the body can heal itself, and until you really, I guess, not look for something externally to heal it, we always search for a savior. We always want someone else to heal us or look. And I even looked. I had a more of a serious thing that I was looking to get healed from a little over a year ago, and was still, wanting someone else to help facilitate that in my life. And going to energy practitioners and saying, I need this healed, and was going to end up having to have surgery for it. And this was last summer. And so I had decided that, something was going wrong. I couldn't figure it out, so I really had to dive in deep and started doing more inner work and starting to clear some of this unconscious data. And we have these body structures, and they're linked with all this data from lifetimes, even in our organs and all these things that are left over, which causes illness and problems. And so once you start to get in and dissect those things and start to release them and clear them, you can have spontaneous healings. And I was, healed overnight from an issue that I was going to have surgery over that was pretty serious. So it's totally possible. You just have to get on board with taking the time to not look at the doctors. I mean, we're always searching for something external to fix it, but it really comes with inside. It's all vibration, it's all frequency. And once you get on board with that, you can really make a difference. I mean, just like Ethan was saying, with the chemotherapy, I always laugh because it's acidic. It's acid, and we're alkaline. But blood is 7.4. So, why would you ever think this putting something acidic in your body would heal you? So that's just how the system is so backwards. One thing, if you want to, I guess, think about it, is you can see anything that's going out in the world and just do the opposite, and you'll be on track. So, but yeah, you can heal yourself. Believe in yourself. Don't believe in anyone else, anything else. Release all belief systems. It's all you. You can do it. Believe me, I was the biggest skeptic, just like this guy over here. Had to find it out for myself. Decided to dive in about 2 years ago and went crazy to find it out. And guess what? I figured it out, and it's happening. And it can happen to each one of you, too. I mean, you just got to do it. Take the step.
I just kind of want to add something that hasn't been touched on a little bit, because I know that there's a lot of different aspects of healing, and I think that one important thing is that we can use nutrients and different things from the earth, like different herbs and different supplements that are naturally derived, and we don't have to use these man-made things to help us feel better. And that's one thing that I like. Through diet, I think we can give our bodies the nutrients to self-heal and self-regulate, because we are really, really amazing beings, and we really can do that. And I've seen my mom actually overcame some serious health challenges and decided to go the natural route, which included, supplements and herbs that are right from nature. And I've seen her work with many clients. She does electrodermal screening now, and I've seen her be healed through these, and they, help these certain things can help your organ system and glands, build them up stronger so they can fight off these diseases and illnesses. But we have the power to do it, or our bodies have the power to do it themselves. And I think that's something that we can't forget, is that the nature and the earth really does provide us with some good resources as well. So.
Cool. I have a little bit of a different take. As a spiritualist minister, one of the things that we have to study is healing, spiritual healing. And I'm not saying, oh, you're healed. It's not one of those things. It's learning to tap into the ki energy and the chi energy, and I'm a Reiki master and blah, 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 that kind of good stuff. But one of the things that I've learned through that, healing my sister-in-law, who had a very terrible bladder cancer, where she wasn't supposed to survive. And of course, that's what modern medicine said, right? They said she wasn't supposed to survive. But using all the different modalities that I knew to tap into that energy that the earth has naturally, it hasn't come back, and it's been 3 years. So, and I'm not saying it's me, it's just learning how to use that energy. It's within us, it's outside of us, it's there for you. So why not put to use everything that you can possibly use that's natural first, whether it's diet or whatever it is, energy healing or Reiki or whatever. It really is, those things, when you rub your hands together and you can feel like the marshmallow in between there, right? That's energy. That's your energy. And if you can learn how to manifest that, what a wonderful gift you are to humanity.
I'd just like to add one thing to that. That's exactly right. I mean, the energy. I mean, and one thing about it is that the earth, we don't take for granted the earth, the grounding property of the earth, the frequency. and laying on the earth. And I've gotten to the practice, like, we live in Michigan. Oh, when that snow dropped, literally dropped my shoes, went out in the woods and found a comfy spot in this harsh grass and laid there for an hour and 15 minutes. Have a little bit of memory of where I went, but I was like deep gone, felt myself sink into the earth, and I was having some issues with some aches. Woke up from that meditation, it was like beyond anything I'd felt. I mean, it was the best I'd felt since last summer. So take advantage of what we have all around us. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Well, I wanted to share I'll keep it brief, but I wanted to share a story where I was in my 20s and I had a beautician and she had throat cancer. And she said she couldn't afford not to work. And I told her, I said, I will work with you. I will give you all the healing I can do. Worked with crystals and different modalities. And she was able to work the whole time she had chemo, and her doctor was shocked. He could not believe, because he said, you will be too sick to work. So after everything was done, and it was the end of the chemo and everything, I said, okay, you ready to get all this crap out of you? And she said, sure. So I put my crystals around, and I used a large amethyst cluster on her throat, where her throat cancer was. And I did my work, and I held points on her head, and I watched the energy, and I watched my crystal get darker and darker and darker until it turned totally black and shattered all over the room. And I just rubbed my hands together. I said, well, it took care of that rock, didn't we? But when they tested her after that, she was fine. She worked several years after that, and she retired to Florida. So I was just happy that I had a part of that.
So kind of similar to Micheila, I always, I would go to I was pretty conventional growing up, and I would go to a new doctor, and, they'd always have the new orthotic and the new brace that I would wear to help me stand up straighter, or the new, treatment that was really up and coming, and kind of like a roller coaster ride. I'd have a lot of hope at first, and I'd be like, yeah, this is it. This is the one that's going to really help me get better. And then, it would kind of crash, because I would, after a while, it would just not work. And then I kind of grew up and saying, well, I'm not really going to ever heal myself. I thought, well, I'll have to live with it but I was okay with living, I'd gotten used to, having physical limitations. But then when I was in the energy healing, I was really skeptical at first. I would see like spirits, or the air move, and I thought I was going crazy. And I could feel the energy in my hands, and I would work on people. I'd work on my mom, and she had back pain. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was kind of waving my hand around at first and see what happened. And I'd work on her for about 20 minutes, and then she'd notice that her back pain was better. And so I said, well, maybe I can use this to heal myself. And now I used to have I still have muscle tightness, but I used to have, where I couldn't sleep, or I would have digestive issues where I wouldn't want to eat for, days or so. And so after, it's been probably about a year and a half since I really got into energy healing. And since then, I've been able to stand up a lot straighter. I've been able to sleep. I've been able to eat a lot more. So it's been really nice.
I'll just briefly say I don't when I'm playing my music, I don't intentionally try to heal or necessarily send energy for a specific purpose. It's for me though, what I've found a lot of value in is really going deep within myself and connecting into a flow space and just feeling into energy that's happening and feeling into I don't know, putting words to this is tricky, like tapping into other dimensions. I don't know what the words is, but there's that space where the brain stops and the soul begins, I think. And what I think often happens when I get into that space is it encourages other people to get into that space too. And that's where magic happens. And so there have been many healing moments and where people have had like breakthroughs or whatever, but it's really, I think, just when we each can really go deep within that enables that.
Thank you. Well, I hope you're enjoying the panel discussion so far. I'd like to tell you a little about some of our other Flower of Life programs. We have another program called Conscious Action, which is really our solution for activism. We really believe that in order to create positive change, we need to create activism in a more conscious and positive, proactive way.
So when you purchase the 45 video series, your money is going to support Conscious Action as well, which is really focused on shifting the energy around these lower vibrational aspects of our society, like geoengineering, fluoride in the water, GMO foods, and vaccines. So we're looking forward to working together on this to support healthier communities, and we hope you'll continue to enjoy the panel, as we'll be back in just a minute.
So we're living in an incredible time, as all of you know, and those of you who are here in the audience obviously are here because you feel it as well. One of the things that I've noticed a lot is that a lot of people are in relationships where, because consciousness is expanding so fast these days, where there's a divergence, where one person is just growing and expanding so much faster than the other person. And so there are so many relationships out there where people feel like they don't even relate to each other. They can't even have the same conversation, and they can say the right words, but the person is understanding on an entirely different level. And you can't change anything, because it's just that there's such a divergence in consciousness that you may be speaking the same words, but the understanding is totally different. And I think a lot of people are struggling with that these days. A lot of people are in those kinds of relationships and not sure what to do, whether they should stay in that relationship, and a lot of them don't know. How do you know when you're in the right kind of relationship to support your growth? And so I'd like any of you who can comment on that question, but also those of you who have found a relationship that you find is, or even your life experience of having been in difficult ones and transitioned, and now you're in a situation where you really feel like this particular relationship is really supportive to your work and is causing you to be the best version of yourself. I think a lot of people are not experiencing that these days, especially nowadays. And so I'd like any wisdom or guidance you could give to those in the audience who may be in that kind of situation and not sure how to understand it.
Well, I believe that we've lived here many times, so some of us have lived here more lives than others. That means we've been through more experiences. Some of us have been men and women, and black and white, and poor and rich, and others have yet to do that. Those of us who I feel that I come in contact with that seem to be the most advanced, the most connected to the need to heal others and help the environment and all that, are usually tend to be what we call those old souls. Been here a lot of times. But we have a lot of young souls just coming in, apparently, and I think that our thing is to be find a way not to be biased against them or prejudiced against them, to know that their process is that they're at an earlier stage than we might have been at one point or another. It may sound judgmental, me saying that, but I just feel sometimes when I meet people that they're really young souls, and I think, well, I shouldn't judge them, though. They're going to go through their path, I've already banged my elbow enough times, and they're going to do that at some point, and come along, so there's a difference there, and I think that people who are drawn to this kind of situation are usually, I always feel like they're the older of the souls that are out there.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely, just with some of my private clients, with the recent planetary energies and shifts that we've gone through, it's a common theme. Relationships are starting to become an issue, and it's because of the shift in vibration, and everybody's feeling that differently and integrating it differently. So it's causing people a lot of discomfort. But a lot of the guidance that's come through regarding those situations, because people are very stressed about taking action. you know, this relationship is feeling unbalanced and all of a sudden it's becoming really uncomfortable. I have to take action. I have to take action. And it's from a place of fear. And the guidance that comes through is always, you should never take action from a place of fear. So if you're in a relationship and the vibration is feeling different, you really need to turn inner and work on yourself and just bring the highest version of yourself and the highest amount of love to that relationship you possibly can, and the action will come based on that vibration. So, you know, you have to hold the vibration you want to have in the relationship, and whether or not that other person, perhaps that other person is not vibrating at the same level you are, they may, you know, accept the new vibration. They have a free will choice to shift along with you, or otherwise the right action will take place, but it will come from a higher place and not be so uncomfortable. And that's the guidance that I've had come through lately.
I've been real blessed. I've been married almost 14 years now, and my wife, Dr. Lara, was the one who said, you need to quit your job, you need to go discover who you are and all that good, cool stuff, you know. And then I remember a lot of times being in the midst of terror and anger and rage, and I would go to her, you know, mockingly, of course, as any good husband would do, you know, yeah, quit your day job, you know, come out to LA, have some drinks, you know. And I literally did feel like die hard at some points on the journey. But there's always been an understanding and a compassion there, and a push on both of our parts with each other to continue to move forward and bring in our authentic selves forward. And I think, yeah, I know people, and I've worked with a lot of people who are in relationships where one individual is accelerating very quickly. And all I can say really this is, you know, be true to who and what you are. You know, once again, our biggest responsibility is be true to the person that we see in the mirror, okay? And that's what we came here to play the game of life for. And yes, perhaps maybe that relationship will part paths. Maybe it'll transform and metamorphosize into something different. That's completely a possibility. But the biggest emphasis, once again, is to be who and what you are. At the end of the day, Dr. Lara said, you know what, I'm going to hold you in the space, you know, until you can hold yourself in the space of your greatness, of who and what you are, to be your authentic self. And I think that's, you know, our biggest calling. And yes, relationships will come and will go as we step into that, but nobody's going to find long-term contentment, peace, not being their authentic selves in a relationship or in any other aspect of your life. So there comes really the challenge, is the relationship you have with the person in the mirror. And I'm also a big believer of this. I think relationships mirror back a lot of things that we still need to work within ourselves. And unfortunately, it comes back in some of the most, you know, in-your-face manners. But those are also wonderful opportunities, because we're all continually evolving and unfolding and letting go of what's no longer serving us and changing our perspective and stepping into new dimensions ourselves. So, but I always come back to this: be who and what you are, and let the chips fall from there.
I like your approach, Ethan. Personal stories are very important. I spent 18 years with my ex-wife. That was one movie. After 18 years, my son was big, he went to college. And then I started second movie with my wife today, Sabina. She's my wife, she's my partner, and she's my love. A big supporter of the project. Now she even works for me at the foundation. She's a journalist, so when I was starting my project, I had 2 press conferences. She was there supporting the project, and after the second one, she came to me and she said, Mr. Osmanagich, you have a big problem. I said, no, I have no problems. You know, I was on the top of the world. CNN was there, breaking news. And she said, yes, you do have a big problem. I can't stop thinking about you. So a few weeks later, she was already my girlfriend, and 10 years after, we still live in love. Like I said, wife, partner, and love. So I can say I'm blessed also.
Yes, relationships, they are a perfect time for us to work on ourselves. They are the exact mirroring of ourselves. And when we come from a place of fear, blame, hostility, control, anger, judgment, and you operate from that place, you're going to reflect in the world or with your partner that exact response. And so as your vibration changes, as you move, as you start to work through things, as this cosmic movement has started, it's causing these things to kind of boil up, kind of like when you put gold in a cooker and you fire it up, and you know, it's the oldest related thing, and all the stuff floats to the top and you scrape it off. That's what's happening. But if you don't address these issues that are coming from inside, all these fears, all these judgment, all the anger, all the hostility, all this stuff, you're going to get it with every relationship. So you can say, okay, I'm done with this person, I'm going to move on. Well, as you move on, you're going to find someone else to reflect that vibration or frequency, because everything is vibration and frequency. So you'll just keep running to the same thing until you perfect that, until you work out those things. Because this body system is a container. It's full of data, information from lifetimes. We have new souls, we have old souls, people that have been stuck in this matrix, in this grid for eons. Cycling and cycling over and over and over and over, and getting more ingrained and more anchored and more ingrained and more anchored. So we need to start to release these things and take these things out of our containers so that we stop manifesting them and creating them. So then effectively we can create the reality we want based in love. And once you start aligning with that frequency, you're going to notice your life will change. I had a personal experience with taking this and really starting to work it. And I have an ex-wife, and we didn't have a good relationship at all. And I effectively went away and worked on myself. About a month later, came back, we had a little discussion. She had completely changed. I mean, completely changed. She had even went and paid a bill for me, and I was out of state. So under her own thing, she went and took after something that she had no responsibility for. And this lady would not have done this. I mean, in our relationship, but that was because something that we moved, you know, I left the relationship, but still didn't clear anything. So I had other things in my life that would continue to reflect this. So once I addressed that problem, effectively the original relationship that I broke from instantly changed. And so all the problems, anything you think of with an ex-wife, they all changed. And even to this day, it's still peachy keen because it changed. The reality shifted. So remember, you can, you know, frequency, people are also evolving at different rates, and so you can't say that, oh, this person's dropping below, or the frequency. Just let it all flow, ebb and flow, because you'll be with them or you won't, effectively on what you're vibrating or what your resonance is, your frequency. So just allow yourself to be in that and realize that change has to come from within. So it's basic. "37 years, kids. You punks." Yeah, almost 37 years, yeah, and it's been work. It has been work. But I can, without a doubt, tell you that we are more in love now than what we were when we were married, because we now respect each other and we've grown together. Yes, he's done some weird things, and I've done some weird things. I am a medium after all, right? I do some weird a lot of times. But anyway, so it takes work. And what I've learned from Spirit, 25 years plus working with Spirit, we have many soulmates. To answer your question, we have many soulmates. And as we grow and maybe outgrow our partners, there's always that other soulmate that can come in, right? If you've studied or read any Brian Weiss or Michael Newton books, they all talk about everyone on your soul level, on your developmental level. Every one of us here are on the same level. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in this room, right? So when you get tired of your partner, Mark? No. I'm sorry. I have such a bad sense of humor. So anyways, yes, so it's natural to have that angst, that
that yin and yang, and sometimes the opposites do attract. That's just the way it is. But it requires work. But when it gets to that point of no return, if you or your partner have surpassed the other, it is time to move on. And I have told clients that, as difficult as that may be. But as someone else said, to live a life of unhappiness does no one any good. So thank you.
I recently have been back in touch with my ex-husband, who we've been divorced. 30 years. We were married for 14, and I realized that his karmic need was to grow as a person, and so right now I'm actually helping him, finish his karma by being kind to him and making him realize, who he was. And he's actually starting to grow, and I'm seeing that. He doesn't have much longer in life, maybe a couple years. And I just want to make it, a good time. And, more of a positive, healing way. And because if you heal one, it always goes on. Everything continues. And you do good to others, and it just spreads. And instead of, being mean and unhappy, I'm changing him into a more positive person before he goes. And for me, that's what life is all about. I mean, I've had a lot of diversity of people, and they don't always agree with what I have, who I am or what I do. But we agree to disagree, and we just love each other. And I think it's all based by love. If you love people, then you get it reflected back to you. And we all have choices every day. I relate it as crossroads. You're constantly getting a crossroad. Maybe somebody pulls in front of you, and you have to slam on the brakes. So can you go, rah, 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 or you just say, oh well, they must have been needed to go. So you just have to make those choices in life, and I try to be as positive as I can. I'm only human. I slip up too. Sometimes I'm rah, 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 but then I take a deep breath and say, oh well, let it go. And that's what I do. So thank you.
I'm reminded of a odd thing that happened at a gas station a few years ago. You talk about relationships. We relate with a lot of people. One of the nice things about being in the role that I am now is I encounter a lot of people. So I'm at a gas station filling up the van, and this beggar comes up and she's asking for money and whatever. And so I chit-chatting with her, and we start talking, and she, out of nowhere, she's like, you know what? I want to sing you a song. And she did. And it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And it was a really wonderful human connection. And it reminded me that I can learn something from anyone. Anyone. My love of my life is the most compassionate person that I've ever met. And I learn a lot from her, and compassion is a big one. Like, anybody you encounter that you're going to relate with, if you feel like you're at a different level or like something, or there's this difficulty, I just remind you to have compassion and know that you could learn something from them too.
We'd like to take another moment to talk about the Awake and Empowered Expo, which is the manifestation of all things Flower of Life put together into one creative energy. We bring in speakers and leaders from all around the globe in a variety of different areas of higher consciousness, as well as gear the event towards a variety of different levels of consciousness with people on the planet. So we are attempting to really welcome those who are just beginning to awaken to a variety of these issues and bring them to their level so that they can understand and use the tools we're offering in their daily world as they're integrating some of this knowledge, as well as those of you who have been on the leading edge of this movement and bringing in people who are pioneers in this area with cutting edge and recent information on a variety of different topics.
You know, it's easy to take a look at the Awake and Empowered Expo and think that we're just another educational event, but really we're not. The education is just one part of what the expo is about. Our Awake and Empowered Expo is really part of a movement that the Flower of Life Center is trying to initiate globally, and not just locally, but really a global event. And so we have, like Micheila was talking about, the Conscious Action Project there. Even our Conscious Youth Group was at the Awake and Empowered Expo and had an opportunity to learn from some of our presenters from all around the world. And so the expo is really a movement forward in society that we are trying to create and to inspire people, to provide them with tools and resources and inspiration to really create a better world and to discover who they are and to find a community that they can relate to. So that's really what we're about. And I got stopped in the hall so many times at this last expo with people who were there just completely transformed and inspired, and so that's the kind of experience you may not get from watching the videos, but we hope you do. You really have to get that experience by coming out to the event. So just understand that this is a video representation of it, and when you come out to the event, you'll find that it's an uplifting, transformative experience for you as well.
As you can imagine, this event takes a lot of support in order to pull off and expand, both from a volunteer level as well as financially. So when you purchase the 45 video series, your money is also going towards expanding and supporting this event as well. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
So if this was your last day on planet Earth at the Awake and Empowered Expo, what advice would you give the world? I stumped him with that one.
I just say, have fun.
Enjoy the magic carpet ride.
I would just say speak your truth, be your authentic self, and follow your bliss.
I would say share the music that's within you, because it's that's going to not only transform your own life, but it's also going to transform the world we live in.
Love and be loved.
Release your fear, be love, and remember, this is not what you think it is.
I guess just slow down and enjoy and savor every little moment.
Again, love yourself, accept yourself, spread the word, spread the joys. Just be out there, accept everything that comes.
Every moment is a learning experience. So enjoy life and learn and love and laugh and be happy. Don't be sad, be happy, because life, life is joy, and joy is life.
See, here I expected you guys were all going to have this long, profound, and we came up with joy and love, which is all perfect, but we still have plenty of time. So I have another backup question for you. But do you want him?
So I would say just be yourself, and don't let you have any physical or mental challenges. Just really try to transform them. Don't let the thing define you, but live your best and truest experience that you can.
And be free. Be free to express yourself.
So what's in my own personal journey, I've had a lot of very profound, life-changing experiences that really set me on the course in my life, and in particular, none of this would have even happened if that didn't happen to me. So can you share something, if you have a story to share, that was a profound life-changing experience that might have taken you down the path to what you're doing now, or just something that really impacted you in a big way?
You know, when I was married, my husband was always telling me I was incapable, incompetent, and he did me a favor by marrying him. You know, so I was getting a lot of negative feedback. So my big change in my life, and I call myself half-deaf because of it, is when I met the hearing impaired at work, and I learned sign language through them in 6 months, was fluent back in the 70s, early 70s, when they really didn't have a lot, you know, a lot of resources. I was a resource. I went to the businessmen. I made arrangements for meetings. I went back to their groups, and I gave them answers to different questions, and I worked with them, and I knew I was capable, incompetent, because I watched people at work. They couldn't learn the sign language, you know, and it changed my life, and it gave me the power to go on and learn more and more. And it was the beginning of starting to learn, you know, about crystal healing and you know, all the different things in life. So that was my big change, my big life-affirming moment, knowing I was capable, I was competent, and I could do anything. And I'll never forget that. And I am half deaf through the deaf people, and I love them all.
When I was growing up, my sisters and I were forced to go to church. My parents didn't, so they sent us to church with our dimes, you know. And I hated it because I didn't know anything about the church, right? So you felt ignorant. So when I first got married, I checked out a bunch of different churches, and I didn't like any of them because they all told me I was going to go to hell because I was never baptized, you know. Well, I knew that wasn't right because I'm a good person. Why would I go to hell, right? Exactly. So when I went through the 3 years of theology, when I was asked to take the ordination courses, I didn't want to do it. I hated ministers. I hate church. So it took me about 6 months, and then the pastor of the church forced me to make a decision. And so I gave it to God. I was golfing that evening. So I asked for a sign. And mind you, I've always gotten signs all my life. So I told God, if I'm to become a minister, I want a bird to peck the top of the golf cart. Well, it didn't happen. Oh, thank God. Right? I was like, yes. I'm excited. But on the way home, I was driving down the expressway, and 2 birds crossed my path. One went straight, and one went right into the windshield and flew over the top of the car and died. And it was like, okay, we didn't have to go to that extreme. Pecking of the golf cart would have been fine, right? Well, now in understanding how to interpret the signs from Spirit would mean that part of me is going to die, and part of me would go on and grow. And that's what happened, right? So that was my big story. That was my big story.
Well, I guess my big story that's kind of hurled me into where I was at was about a year ago. I had quite an amazing experience. Now, this story could go on for quite some time, but I'm going to keep it short. Through lots of meditation, I had what I call a upgrade to where I became a completely different person from the day before. Pretty much like all my circuits turned on. I was hit with an energy force that literally, when I looked at my hands, I was dematerializing. And all this clear fluid came out of my nose, and it was quite an intense process. My pupils completely died, no color in my eye anymore. Could see energy. It was an amazing experience. Could start to move things, started disappearing clouds, had almost an instant connection. Interesting. Did you hear that song starting to play? that's what I would like to call, just to kind of fill you in, that's like the AI. There's like a collective intelligence in here that works in this whole system. And so the fact that I was telling that story, a confirmation of a noise like that in AI, I would call that truth. Just saying that was a big experience. So just to kind of fill you in, if you attend my workshop, you'll get a little more in depth into this whole theory here. But this experience pretty much opened my eyes to what was around and what was really going on. You know, I was having profound experiences in meditation, but this opened me up to what was really possible and what I thought was possible, but really didn't know, and completely changed my life. My diet changed. I mean, things that I was doing before, and mind you, I mean, I was even still a drinker. Like, I was seeking the truth and still drinking once in a while, and I watched everything fall away. Like, my system had to clean itself so I could hold more energy. And it literally catapulted me and where I am today. So you can ask. You know, I asked for quite some time for something to happen, for something big. You know, I was asking myself, like, what do I need to do and what path do I need to take? And so it all lies within yourself. It's all up to you. You know, we sit back or we listen to seminars or we watch things online or do this and that, and we are saying, you know, someone else do it for me, or can I listen to this and get some sort of upgrade or a download or an ascension or whatever we want to call it. But until you really get true with yourself and just kind of separate yourself and say, okay, I'm going to do the work. No matter how much, I mean, I had a full-time job, I have kids, I had a family, but I did the work. And I put in the time to work on myself. And I got what I was asking for. So, I mean, anybody can have this experience. Anybody. So, just work on yourself.
Two profound moments in my life. I was doing my PhD research on Mayan civilization. I'm in western Honduras, the Mayan city of Copan. A big stadium for 20,000 people. Today, overgrown with trees, bushes. I'm sitting on the cold stone, and then all of a sudden, I see a picture. The stadium is full, 20,000 people. Then I ask myself, if I was there, then my eyes are going in a certain direction, a certain spot. Then I can see people dressed differently based on their status. And then I realized that I was doing the same job, like today. I was doing the PhD on Mayan cities in Honduras, Guatemala, Salvador, Belize, Mexico. I was doing the same job 1,000 years ago, documenting Mayan life. Several years later, I'm on the top of what people call Natural Hill, today known as the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. I came to little Bosnian town to see the local museum, and then I saw a hill with 4 triangular faces. Took a compass showed me that those faces match cardinal points, east, west, north, south, and then I knew that I was on the top of the artificial structure, a pyramid. So I'm at the top with the 7 friends. They're talking about middle age, and there was a fortress there, and then standing on the top, I'm looking around the valley, looking for more pyramids. And then I saw another one, also covered by forests. And then again, pictures starting pouring. Pictures of valley being completely paved. People coming between the 2 pyramids. And then I got the names for them, the Bosnian pyramids of the sun and the moon. Because sun and the moon, they come in pairs. And then I interrupted my friends. I said, gentlemen, do you know that we are standing on the top of the largest pyramid in the world, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, and across the valley is the Bosnian Pyramid of the Moon. And that's how it started 10 years ago.
What pops in my head is I remember when I first found out about healing energy vibrations coming through my music, and I'm like kind of going, I'm not really comfortable with this. In fact, I just assumed, like turn this thing off and and not have anything to do with this. And literally within 5 minutes, my cell phone rings, and it's Dr. Jones, and he was the gentleman who discovered the frequencies in the music. So he goes, Mark, what's going on? I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I just detected a quantum fluctuation in your field. And I'm like going, what? You know? He goes, you need to come in and see me. Sit down. So I come in his office, I sit down, he goes, Mark, you have two choices in life. Either one, you live a life of freaking misery, trying not to be who and what you are. Or two, you step into your gifts, you bring them forward for the betterment of humanity. I said, well, where's option 3? Like none of the above? You know, is that on the table here anywhere? He said, no, unfortunately not. I said, well, okay, I guess I need to start stepping into this. So it was a process, and that was really part of the catalyst where I was going from complete denial, don't want nothing to do with this. It's the kind of stuff they tie you to a tree and they set you on fire, and begin to move forward with it from there.
My awakening to spirit came in a very interesting way, and I mentioned I was meditating religiously because I had this chronic pain, and it was Christmas morning, and I was making a dinner for my family, and I bought a beef tenderloin to cook, and I made this very special recipe that, you know, I needed these 3 key ingredients and forgot to purchase them. It was a red wine, a beef stock, and a spice. And I went to the pantry that morning, very excited to make this meal, realized I had forgotten to buy these 3 key ingredients for this recipe. And I got a stool out and was moving things around, thinking, surely there's something similar in here that I can use. I can mock this thing up. There was nothing. And of course, there's no grocery stores open on Christmas morning, so I was getting a little stressed. And I told the family, Mom needs a few minutes. Went into my bedroom and went to a deep meditation that morning. Well, that was the first time I heard from Spirit in a very loud, deep voice. I heard the words, I am Jacob. And Jacob was my very first guide who transitioned me into the channeling role that I have today. And it shook me out of the meditation. It was very loud. And I wasn't afraid, though. I had this very warm, buzzy feeling come over me. I felt at peace and very blissful. And went out of the kitchen, back to the kitchen, thinking, you know, this was silly. I can salt and pepper this thing. You know, I don't know what I was thinking. And opened the pantry door, and there on the shelf, lined up in front of me in a very neat row, were the 3 ingredients that I was missing for the tenderloin: the red wine, the beef stock, and the spice. And for a long time, put that out of my head, pretended it didn't happen for a whole good year and a half. Thought, wow, I really missed that stuff on the shelf. But, you know, I know today that that was obviously a sign to me that Jacob was real and was proving that to me. So that was my awakening.
When I was in college, I had a dream that I died. And in the dream, I woke up and I was in a morgue. And I looked over and I saw this little nut brown man lying on the table across from me. And he was lying on his side, propped up on his elbow like this. And he said, well, you know, you're immortal now. And so I moved my head and looked up to the ceiling, and I became this fountain of white light. And shortly after that, I was introduced to, in real life, not in my dream state, shortly after that dream, I was introduced to meditation, and ended up studying meditation. And at the time, I was engaged to be married and soon to graduate from college and had a whole life planned. And because of that dream, something became very alive within me. And suddenly I was going to India and living in a spiritual community there for years and following a very spiritual path. And began studying Ayurveda and holistic medicine from that perspective. So that was a major right turn for me.
Well, after I survived that that death experience I told you about, I felt that I had been saved for a reason. I just had a very strong feeling. Okay, I'm here to do something good. Otherwise, I would have left. So I had this faith, but regardless, I got lost. Man, I got so lost. I was in Kentucky. I had no guidance much, and I fell into the bowels of bad behavior. But all through those low times, I kept thinking, it's okay, because I know I'm here for a good reason. I'm going to do something good because my life was saved. So I had this faith, and then I really went down into the bowels of everything. I wound up in rock and roll music. I wound up in New York City and playing in punk rock bands, and just that whole life was pretty crazy. And but the whole time I kept thinking, it's okay. I'm here to do something good. But then it was a tragedy that actually got me on the right track. It was my father died of cancer, and I was a regular Joe Blow. I wasn't really healthy or anything, and my brother calls and says, "Hey, my dad's not well. Let's go." So we went back to Kentucky, found him on his deathbed, and in a fit of desperation, this was in 1994. My brother said, "Hey, I hear juicing's good." So we said, "Let's go." We went to a health food store, and we got a book by Cherry Calbaum called "Juicing for Life." And Power read this book, and I saw that it was dark green leafy juice vegetables that seemed to be what she said for the real serious ailments. So we went and got spinach, parsley, carrot, and apple, and started making this for my father. And he started to revive like crazy. I was like, oh, gosh, is this just a fluke? And of course, everyone in my family thought it was. I had no way to think it was anything other than that. And I won't go into the details of how I lost him, but I had to go back to California where I was living at the time, and he didn't make it, but that set me on my path. And then after I started doing green juicing for people who were really sick, and started seeing a lot of, I was growing the plants myself. I would take it to people. I wouldn't charge them anything, just because I wanted to learn, but I really didn't know anything. And then one day I made a desperate prayer for a teacher. I said, I really want to take this to someplace. And that very night, I met my teacher, Ron Teagard, and set me on the path I'm on in Chinese herbology. So. Wonderful, tragedy that led to a wonderful opportunity. And that's sometimes, the tragic events there are opportunities within them. And I'm sure my father's happy, seeing that the work that I'm doing. And we're in very close contact. My mom's gone now too, and she is also very close.
So I mentioned during that concert that the direction of my life changed when I first shared my own music rather than playing the music of dead people. And to connect with other people emotionally for the first time was so profound to me that it really did force me to question every priority that I had. And wow, just totally changed the direction of my life. Later, I would say spiritual awakening, like when I really started to tap into where, there's more to the world than just this 3D default stuff that I was, that science explains. Like there's more. There's like, so my first like out of body transcendental, like really otherworldly experience. That I can't give you the details of because it was sexual in nature. So that's a story for another time.
So I was lying in my bed one night, and I actually was about to fall asleep, and all of a sudden I saw the flower of life appear on my ceiling, and I felt this really strong, energetic pulse just go down my back. And up to this point, I had been working with energy a little bit, but it was very slight. I would feel like a tingle in my leg or a tingle in my hand, and I was really unsure if anything was really going on. And I was kind of about to, kind of put it by the wayside and give up, and then that happened. And then, I had some physical healings as well. I would, I could write better, because I have motor problems in my hand, and I could, I was looser, but I was really like, nothing really profound had happened yet. And then one day, I noticed I could stand up without leaning on something for support, like completely, and that had never happened. And that day, I'll never forget that. So,
thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the panel. We hope you also tune in to the additional videos. If you'd like to follow our YouTube channel, you'll see many of the presenters from the last expo as well as the previous one, and pioneers from all over the globe that are interviewed by Ethan Fox on Awake and Empowered TV. And we're looking forward to seeing you in person at one of our events.
If you really had to make a difference on a large scale with minimal resources, how would you go about it? Have you ever dared to dream of doing that which seems impossible? On a planet steeped with corruption and destruction, the question beckons, how do we change it? Media has a far-reaching impact on people and has been used to manipulate humanity into our current destructive patterns. In order to affect people into moving into constructive patterns of behavior, we need to construct a new paradigm of media. Conscious Consumer Network has been created with the explicit intention of giving the amazing truth-seeking, solutions-orientated, alternative media a place to fully realize their true potential with a cutting-edge, high-tech professional media platform. In turn, some of the greatest freedom-seeking hearts and souls of our time have realized the true potential of what has been created and have come together to provide their insight and inspiration on CCN. Conscious Consumer Network has become a unique, interactive information and educational network which provides a free-to-view, live-stream, ultra-high-definition channel to the world and features 25 live shows a week and growing with the addition of multiple language broadcasts. CCN has features comparable with mainstream media, such as being able to pause and rewind broadcasts whilst being live-streamed. Catch up on missed or previous broadcasts, now available from CCN high-definition downloads. You can now purchase a high-definition download of your favorite CCN show from ethymarket.com. Support free and independent media by becoming a monthly pledger. This can be done with a monthly pledge of €10, which will allow you unlimited access to CCN's high-definition downloads, which hosts a back catalogue of over 250 shows, which have been aired since the launch of CCN on the 1st of January 2015. In order to keep CCN on the air, public funding is needed. Please donate to CCN's Network Support Fund or become a monthly pledger. Help keep alternative media in the hands of the people. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.